What's up, guys, and welcome back for another solo mining episode. We're going to be, I'm out here today in the Retriever, and we're going to be doing some mining and answering a few questions that I've kind of seen around and everything. But as far as mining goes for me for the past few days, I've my biggest obstacle in the past 4 days or so has been pirate strongholds. I've really had the pirate strongholds have been just following me around like crazy, and that kind of got me thinking too. It's like, if you're a solo miner, like a single account or whatever, having a couple of systems that you are comfortable mining in is probably not a horrible idea, because, for instance, I don't know what's going on, but the spawn rate around me for pirate strongholds has been absolutely insane. I took down one a couple days ago, and then the very next day, actually probably like 6 hours later, it was back up in the same system. So I don't really recommend trying to go and take them down. You really do need like a specialized fit for it. I use a rattlesnake, passive tank rattlesnake, to do it. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, especially if other people are curious and they're warping to them. They can spawn more rats on top of you, and usually if you just kind of like leave them alone, just somebody will come in and grab them and take care of them. But my biggest rule for anybody mining is, if you see a pirate stronghold, always check for a pirate stronghold before you start mining. And if there's one in your system, just find somewhere else to mine. But for me, I was running from them for quite a while. But I'm out here today in the Retriever. I ended up getting a Retriever and some other stuff at Jita, but the Retriever and like the Coveter and even the Procurer are ships that I'm probably not going to have for every alt. Whenever I take fleets out, I'm still either in the Hulk or the Mackinac, depending on how I want to how I feel that day and everything. So that's been kind of like my strategy. But I've spent so much time in the Mackinac over the past like 12 months, going back to some of these older, or not older, but some of these lower tiered ships. It's pretty interesting, and I haven't been in a Retriever in a long time. The last time I was in a Retriever actually was, I want to say, when I first started playing before I got into a mining corporation. I was taking it out to like Nullsec and mining Crokite out there, and I've only lost 2 mining ships in the entire time I've been playing EVE, and one of those was a Retriever, which I lost coming out of Nullsec one time. But I managed to like mine anomalies in Nullsec pretty successfully before I actually got popped. The other mining ship I lost was a skiff coming out of Drone Lands through a known gate camp, and I figured I was going to lose it anyway, but I was just lazy and bored. But that literally wasn't a gank. That was literally me just kind of poking the bear, essentially. But I really don't have problems losing ships, and I think it's just because I kind of play like I'm paranoid, spamming D-scan, building an idea of like who operates in the system with me and who's like the regulars and stuff like that. So that probably contributes a lot to not having losses. But we're going to jump into some questions today. The first one being, and this is something that I haven't really covered on the channel much, actually at all, I think, but the question was, are mining missions worth it? Now, in terms of doing the Air Career Program objectives for SP, doing the mining missions is worth it. If you're a new player, or if you've never done them before, they are worth doing just for the experience. You essentially can make a little bit of ISK, you can make a little bit of loyalty points, but as far as a main gameplay loop, like, you're not going to see anybody going out and doing mining missions ad nauseum like you would see like doing security missions. Like, security missions in ratting are really nice because you get bounties, you get the normal bounties that you would get from killing rats, but the mining missions are there for just some variance on the mission side. The ore that you mine there is going to be specialized to missions, so it has no real value in manufacturing. It gets turned in, and as you move up the level, for that mission or for those missions, then you need a bigger ship. If you come in, if you start doing mining missions at the very beginning and you're like an adventure, then when you start going up to like level 2s, level 3s and stuff like that, and you start taking bigger ships to facilitate those missions, then that's kind of the progression track. But you could also just very easily come in with like a prospect or an endurance and pretty much chill for several tiers of that mission before you really need to do anything. Some of the rewards from the LP can be worth it. You probably get some like some implants and stuff like that, but overall you're better off doing just normal asteroid belt mining in HiSec in terms of income, because even if you max out skills for getting more LP or more mission rewards, it's still kind of the income kind of pales in comparison to pretty much any other mining activity you can do. I used to do them a lot, actually. After I joined a mining corporation, we do our mining op, and which I made pretty decent money doing. And then whenever my corp kind of like logged off for the day, then I would go next door or a couple jumps where I was doing mining missions, which was nice. It was kind of like a way for me to fill the gap. And once I got skilled out to where I could run my own fleet with boosts and stuff like that, then I would just kind of continue on after the corp mining op. And obviously this was back when there were still anomalies in HiSec, so there's a lot more options for me to do after my corporation was done mining. So I was out there, getting Omber and stuff. That way I could, build up a nice little stockpile for buybacks to submit to the corporation. But I was doing the mining missions essentially just to kind of experience it. I managed to get a crap ton of LP stocked up for it, but I ended up not using any of it. I mean, I would go to the LP store, but there was really nothing that was beneficial to me. Like by the time you get the implants you can get from LP there, by the time you grind up to the point where you can get them, it would have been so much easier just to do normal mining and then go to JITA and buy that stuff. Because if you don't have any experience with the LP stores, it takes a certain amount of loyalty points, and it also takes a certain amount of ISK. Or if you're trying to get like a faction BPC, it can or a faction ship BPC, it almost always takes like the normal ship as a expense as well. So if you've never done them before, then they're worth it. And right when they brought out the new player experience and like the air career program and stuff like that, where they have you do distribution, security, and mining missions, do them for that. Do like 20 of them to fulfill that requirement, and you'd be good to go. But I think once you experience them the first time, then it's probably there's not a whole lot left to experience there. The next question I'm going to answer is, I've seen a lot of people talking about insurance, especially in the videos that I have been covering lately about operating costs and things like that, where people were talking about like insurance and ship insurance being a operational cost. And while that is true, and it probably might not come to a surprise for anybody, but I don't use insurance, ship insurance. And the way that ship insurance works in EVE is it's not going to replace your ship in fit. It's more or less going to soften the blow. Even if you don't have any insurance on your ship and you lose it to like a gank or whatever, you'll still get some ISK back, not very much. But even at like the premium level, you're not going to get a whole lot of ISK back anyway. But I used insurance in the very, very beginning, but when I just don't lose ships to ganking or whatever. So what caused me to stop using insurance was, one, when you have a good amount of capital, then paying that premium for that insurance starts to not make a whole lot of sense. And also, if you don't lose ships, like I'm still running the same Mackinac that I bought for this series back in last January, and so if I would have been using insurance for that, I would have paid so many times to redo that insurance without ever it even getting destroyed. So it becomes like this recurring expense that ends up not even, because like the thing is like you should be playing the game and you should be mining with the intention of not losing your ship. And I feel like when you don't insure your ship, then it makes it you're a lot more cautious and stuff, because even if you insure it and you lose it, you're not going to make a whole lot towards replacing it. And also, if you do everything correctly and you don't lose your ship, then how many times are you going to keep redoing that insurance to eventually, like at a certain point, you're going to be renewing that insurance so much that if you do lose your ship, it's not going to be anywhere close to the value of your ship and your fit, and it's also not going to be anywhere near the amount of ISQ poured in to keep renewing it, right? So, to me, and this is wholly just my own opinion, ship insurance is just not worth it at all. It is what I consider a currency sink in the game. I think it works well for pulling ISK out of the economy, and a lot of the reasons why it's been it used to be a lot better, but then people were actually using the insurance systems to commit insurance fraud, essentially. And it's pretty much like the same way that we used to generate ISK on the PTU, whereas you take like a Rorqual, you buy like a Rorqual from the PTU seed for like 100 ISK, and then you'd premium insure it, and then you'd go outside and self-destruct, and you just do that over and over to just generate a lot of ISK to buy like injectors or whatever. But in terms of like, and they brought it down, they nerfed it quite a bit to the point where if you're losing ships like every single day, or at least you're losing a ship, one ship every single month, then yeah, you probably need some insurance just to like bring a little bit of the ISK back into the mix. But no, the best advice I can give people is just don't worry about insurance. Just learn to play, paranoid if possible. Just like, worry about DScan, worry about local, worry about getting off grid if stuff happens. Literally fly like you don't have insurance, because you don't, and chances are you won't lose your ship, right? And because once you start, for me that was the breaking point for their insurance, when I was like, well, about the third time I was redoing insurance on the same ship, I was like, it's starting to become less worth it, because the payout, it doesn't change based on how much money I poured into it. I'm just kind of throwing ISK away and everything. So I ended up just stop doing it, even for bigger ships like the Rorqual or any like capital ship. I don't even do it for those, right? Because it's just not worth it, in my opinion. The next thing I want to talk about is the running a corporation as a solo player. I think this is probably like it's a topic I've talked about in the past, and probably something that's still probably a little bit confusing for like newer players. And what I mean by this is, I run a corporation. I own my own corporation that has nothing but me and my alts in it, and I have them all set as directors. There's a lot of benefits to this, and most of it just is like quality of life. But one thing is it's just like, it gives you, the biggest benefit is it gives you one central location for all of your ISK. Like, you can control the tax rate for your corporation. So this doesn't even have to be, it's not even a minor thing. It's like, you can be ratting or whatever. As long as you are just playing on your own and you're not in another corporation, having your own corporation is great, because in an NPC corp, you're going to have a really high tax rate that you cannot control. And by having a tax rate that you can control, I usually set my tax rate to 100%. That way, when my alts are doing project discovery or ratting or whatever, then all their earnings go into the corp wallet. And then whenever I need things like skill books, or they need to buy a fit or a mod, and since they're all directors, they just pull what they need from the corp wallet, buy what they need, and then shove the remainder back into the corp wallet. And that allows you to have access to your corp funds without actually like logging in another tune. Like, if you weren't in your own like solo corporation, then you would have to log in the guy that has all the funds. If you're holding it all on a central location, send it over to the alt that needs it, and then do his thing and then send it back. It's really tedious to do that. And in most cases, in terms of like buying skill books for alts, I usually don't send them money anyway. I usually have them do product discovery, and they just train the prerequisite skills and stuff like that, and they do product discovery and earn the ESC through product discovery to pay for skill books going into being mining alts or whatever the case may be. And that just keeps income from other sources away from skill book stuff. That's like they're earning it on their own, essentially. But the other big benefit, and probably the biggest reason I still run my own corporation, is the corp hangers, asset access and stuff like that. So, and this is another thing too, it's like whenever you have all your assets in like a corp hanger, like for me, I have my assets is like, the Orca, the Porpoise, a bunch of mods, crystals. So if I'm on any other character and I need something, as long as it's in that asset hanger, I don't have to log in another tune or another alt or try to remember who has what. And it's kind of just a general policy for me, is like if the alt is done using something, they put it back in the asset hanger. That way it's available to any alt that I might have logged in. Also, having a mining hold corporate hanger. This mining hold is where everything goes into that we mine. So all compressed ore, all the raw ore, all goes in here, so that when let's say you have a production alt, or you have a repros alt, or you have the transport alt. So no matter who logs in, whether or not you're going to go to sell the ore, reprocess the ore, or build something, all of that ore is in a centralized location, so you don't have to like have other alts logged in to trade that stuff over, right? It's just about taking assets, and it's kind of the same principle when it comes to like the corp wallet, having a centralized location for all of your funds. Same thing, having a centralized location for all of your assets. That way you don't have to do the alt juggle, as it were. And most of the time when I'm not doing anything crazy, everything is set to like 100% tax rate, and everything just goes straight to the corp wallet. And while I'm out there mining, I'll do like product discovery, and over the course of a week or two, the product discovery funds is enough to pay for the rent on the offices. And that's what you have to have in order to have a corporation hangers. You have to pay for a corp office in a structure. So I have a corp office in an NPC structure. That way I don't have to worry about it being blown up or decommissioned or whatever. And that's where I stockpile a good majority, pretty much everything that we're using for mining. That way it's, and that's the beautiful thing about doing things in like a NPC structure, is I could stockpile billions and billions and billions of ore and assets in this NPC structure, walk away from the game for 5 years, come back, and it'll all still be there. Granted that, CZB doesn't like do like a reconfiguration of structures or whatever the case may be at a higher level, but in terms of like what players can actually affect, it's safe from any of that stuff, which is nice. I've even done like research and stuff in these structures as well, and that's another thing too, is if you have, and something I was considering doing with alts is like getting them all trained up to where they could do they could all do like 11 BPO researches on like 5 different tunes. And if like that's the case, then having a corporation hanger that has all of your unresearched BPOs, and then maybe a hanger that has all your completed ones, so you could log into that alt. Let's say they have like 3 slots available for research. You go to the incomplete BPO hanger or whatever you call it. They pull a few, they put them into research, and then whenever these alts get BPOs that are done being researched, they put them back into like the completed BPO hanger, and it's a way to just very easily track all that stuff. There's so many benefits to it. Obviously, if you ever get to the point where you need to like you meet some people and you join like their corporation or whatever, then you you don't necessarily have to get rid of your corporation if you ran your own corporation. What I've done in the past is like I just have like an alt that has the skills to be able to be CEO, and so I've been at the point where all of my alts except for like one has been in other corporations, whether it's been for nullsec or whatever. And what I do is I just throw that CEO position over to that new alt, who essentially just acts as like a holding. That alt is only purpose is just to hold the corporation. So then when I'm done in that corporation with friends or whatever the case may be, I always have my own corporation to kind of fall back on, and that's it's always been nice. I think I've been running my corporation for like 3 years now, and really it just comes down to convenience. Just like if you share bookmarks with access lists and stuff like that, I've done a video over how to basically make one bookmark and all your alts see it, and that's great too. The other benefit too is actually fits. I pretty much don't save personal fits at all anymore. Every fit that I put together is saved at a corporation level because that's saved server side, and while personal fits are saved on your computer. The benefit here is you could be like, so you're on alt and Jita and you're putting together a fit, you could save it as a corporation and then log in your alt somewhere, and they could look at that fit and you can compare it against their skills and see what they need. That's why I use fits as like a benchmark for training instead of like skill plans, because I wanted to get them to the point where they can fly this fit, and corporation fits are always available to the corporation members. Even when you make a new alt, they can immediately go in there and look at corp fits, which are saved server side. You don't have to worry about transferring them over if you get a new computer or whatever, and those are huge benefits. I might do a video that goes through corporation, setting up corporation and all that stuff. The other thing you could do too now with corporations is like the corporation projects, which they excuse me, which they improved with Havoc. But and I've done a video over that stuff too. But making corporations is pretty easy. You just got to pay the fine, and then get a name and make an icon, and kind of just start messing around with roles and stuff like that. It can be a little tedious, but one day I might actually do a deep dive into setting it up. But just kind of recap, the corp fittings is a benefit. 100% tax control is a benefit for having all your funds in a centralized location. Corporate hangars are probably the biggest benefit. And this is even if you're only running like 2 alts, having a corporation is still great, because most of the time in this miner you're probably not going to stop at 2 alts. To be honest, you're probably going to end up having like 3 or 4. It just kind of depends on how it goes, but it's if it's something that if you're not going to be playing with anybody else, and you're not necessarily in a corporation, or if you're just, God forbid, you're stuck in like an NPC corp, then by all means do the research, make a corporation for yourself, and you'll love it. I swear, it's one of the best things. The next thing I want to talk about is some new miner tips. I see a lot of people in the comment section who have talked about like they're just new to mining and everything, and one of the biggest things I can tell about people that have started playing or have just like started mining, really, but more or less just career agents. I mean, when you go and you do like the career agents at the beginning, you're gonna get a lot of assets. You'll get to go out and do some mining. You'll be able to go out and do like a lot of stuff, which gives you perspective. When you do those relic sites and those data sites or the ratting, even if you're interested in mining, knowing how the other aspects of the game operate around you helps you know kind of more what's going on in your environment. And the career agents are just a great way. Like you get like a couple of ventures actually, and mods and stuff like that just from doing the career missions, so they're very much worth it. And then I would say, as a new player, doing those career agents, doing all of them, and then focusing on the air career opportunities, those objectives, getting all those done and getting all those SP and everything, that's going to set you up for a lot of success. And like those air career objectives are going to take you around to do a lot of stuff, like the different types of missions and different types of interactions, even with other capsuleers. So it's all about perspective. It's all about knowing kind of how the rest of the game is being played around you. That way when you see somebody come in a certain ship in local, doesn't mean they're all there to gank you, but they could be out there to do like ratting sites or scanning for anomalies. And when you know how all that stuff kind of works, then it takes a little bit of the paranoia off of you. I know for me, when I first started playing, I didn't have any idea about ratting or scanning or any of this stuff. I was just out there mining, and I just assumed that everybody that was coming into local was trying to hunt and kill me. But once I started doing things like scanning and ratting and exploring all the other aspects of the game, it helped me better analyze my surroundings, and it took a lot of the pressure off, a lot of the paranoia off of just thinking everybody was out to kill me and everything. So that's another big thing too, is with EVE, just in general, not just mining, but just having enough experience to be well informed will pay itself off tenfold, if not more. Just knowing your environment, knowing the game loops and all that stuff and everything. But one of the last questions I want to answer in this episode is going to be, when should you use mining drones? I love drone mining, and you guys probably know that by this point, but I very rarely use mining drones with just normal mining ships. I've started doing it more, and actually I'm doing it with the Retriever today, just because I've gotten in kind of the habit of throwing them out with the Mackinac, throwing them out with the Retriever, anything that has like a big ore hold. There's really no hard and fast rule for when to use mining drones. I think that mining drones are never going to like be a huge source of income spike. They're going to be more or less like a supporting role. So if you want to just kind of speed up how long it takes you to fill up your mining hold, and you have the ability to run the mining drones, then you should probably run them. Now, in some ships, like a Covetor being boosted by a Porpoise, probably not. It's a lot to manage. If you're managing a lot of alts through fleet mining, also managing all their mining drones can be maybe a little much. But as long as you're fit in your ship is able to have combat drones and mining drones, then there's really no reason why you shouldn't use them. Even in the skiff or in the Procure, throwing out the combat drones to take care of rats, and then sucking them in and throwing out mining drones to help with your yield, is just added bonus, right? It just keeps adding more, because that's all it comes down to. When you're solo mining and you're just worried about making as much ISK as possible with what equipment you have, it all comes down to that cubic meter a second. And those mining drones, as you get the skills for them up, they're not going to add a whole lot, but they will definitely add a little bit. And it could be like anywhere from like 1 cubic meter a second for each drone. So like, let's say you can run 5 of them on your Procure or whatever. If you're already running, 5 cubic meters a second is pretty good. It's going to be hard to see because they'll actually give you their ore every 60 seconds, whereas like a Skiff or Procure are going to be a little bit longer than that. But it adds up. It definitely adds up, and you can just put them on rocks that are closest to your ship. You want to be as close to the mining drones as possible, so that their downtime isn't that much. So just mine rocks out near your max range, and then have the mining drones kind of doing the stuff around you, and you'll be all right. I don't normally run them on Procure or Skiff or Covetor or Hulk, because they already fill up so fast with their normal yield. But in terms of like Retriever and Mackinac with those really big ore holds, they really do kind of help a lot. And I usually run like just regular Tech 2 mining drones. There's really no point in running augments. You get a little bit more yield, but they're also much more expensive. And whenever somebody sees, at least for me, whenever I see augmented drones on D-Scan, I usually can assume that their fit on their ship is also probably blingy as well. So you kind of make yourself a little bit bigger of a target by using augments. I usually reserve the use of augmented mining drones for if I'm actually doing Orca or Porpoise drone mining, and we're talking about when we have actual mining drone rigs on those ships, where our whole purpose is to maximize drone mining with those ships. So, but even like for me, I've taken the Porpoise and the Workout drone mining even without the rigs, just for fun. But we'll probably actually in the next week or so, get a few specially built Porpoise and Orca that are rigged for drone mining and do some of that and kind of cross compare that stuff and everything, because at this point I'm just kind of building out my collection of mining stuff. I think we've got pretty much every ship with the exception of the Rorqual. I've sold my Rorqual back in November. No real need to have it right now, but I've been just kind of building out my little collection. That way I can just kind of showcase and mine. It's nice. Like today I just came out in the Retriever and mined. I could normally do what I could have done what I normally do and just go out in the Mackinac and business as usual, but I decided to take the Retriever out today. And then the ability to actually just take out different ships is really nice. It really breaks up the monotony and everything like that. But hopefully I answered some questions that people had. If you have any more, let me know in the comment section, and I will try to answer any questions you guys have, whether it be comparison stuff or just anything. Like I'm an open book. So that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you guys for watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and if you want to support the channel and the series, consider becoming a YouTube channel member, where you can find that link in the description, and that goes a long way in helping me kind of keep all this stuff running and everything. So with that being said, fly safe, keep them lasers on, and get that space rich, and peace out.